just because I'm telling you to sell gloves today, or it's funny you mentioned the laminate because they sent out the glove pricing. I laminated that sucker. I suck it in everyone's round, pack them all. I do that, but.
Welcome back, everybody. Stop Interviewing, Start Selling. I'm your host, Philip Meyer, and today, one of my good buddies, Tony Schuler, service manager for Universe Corporation, Sacramento. What's up, Tony? How you doing, man?
No, I'm doing good. I'm on my last day of vacation, as I just took a nice little swig off the beer, so I'm enjoying myself and my time off. So it's been good.
I like it. Very cool. Did you do any traveling, or did you just stay local?
No, not really, man. Every vacation we have, or that I have, really, unless we're going out of town to play a show or something of that nature. I like being at home, dude. I got everything set up at the house. I'm perfectly content with being at home with my dogs, which we have people out front. So if my dogs start barking, that's why. But yeah, I'm happy being at home, man. Being with the family, being with my pets. Got my music here, so it's all good.
Yeah, for sure. Like don't worry about background noise. I mean, like I typically have 4 little ones running around screaming in the background, and my wife's yelling at them. So people that like actually listen to my podcast, all 35 of you, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, they'll usually hear that stuff going on, so not a problem at all. But you mentioned music. You are a drummer, correct?
Correct. I've been doing it. I've been playing ever since I was 16, so going on 31 years. Yeah, I mean, it's something I've wanted to do ever since I was in kindergarten. Actually, I got turned on to it growing up. My mother played piano and stuff like that. And then when we would go to grandma's house for Thanksgiving and all that stuff with my uncle. He had this beautiful drum set in his room, and little kids they wake up at 5, 6 a.m. right? So while everyone was sleeping, man, I would sneak in. And of course, my grandma's house when I was a little kid was massive, but now I'm thinking back on it now, it was probably a tiny little house. And I would sneak into his room at like 6:30 in the morning, and I would climb up on the drum seat, and I would just sit there and lightly tap things, and I would try not to get caught. There's a few times they'd let me play it, but ever since then I was like, I wanted to play the drums. And then going through high school and stuff like that, I got in bands, and this is the 90s, of course, Nirvana, all that kind of crap. I jumped on that bandwagon, and then got better and better and toured around the country and did that for a long time. Been to coast, back and forth a few times. Wow. Played with a lot of big bands. Yeah, played with a lot of big bands. I mean, this is what everyone says, back in my day. But it's the truth, I mean, back in the 90s, you were playing with bands that are on the radio now who sell out arenas. But back in those days, they could sell out a little VFW hall with 50 kids in it. You know what I mean? So there's something to be said for that. And it's just, music is my thing, man. I love doing it. I think my son and my daughter and my wife now, we all go to shows when we could and when they're opening back up. And I'm very proud of it, It's my life. It's what I do, and that and work, It's like the only two. Death and taxes, It's just the way it is, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's always really interesting to learn what people do like in their off time. Like I feel like I'm the only one of my siblings out of the 6 of us, I believe. Let's see, hold on. 7 of us, sorry. That doesn't have any musical talent whatsoever. Like, I mean, my oldest brother, he played drums. My second oldest brother, Martin, actually composed the theme song for this podcast. Like if you go on YouTube, you watch this episode, you'll see the the kind of like video clip or whatever of me getting dressed in the morning, like going off to work or whatever. But the actual music that's like overlaid on that, he actually created that. So it's pretty cool. And then my brother Kyle kind of does everything. Like he sings, he plays drums, he plays guitar. He's super creative. Like he put together the storyboard for the intro of the podcast, which is awesome. I gave him a credit on the intro too there. But yeah, like I mean, like I sing to my kids if that counts, but that's pretty much it.
I poorly hum tunes to my son, and because we're listening to everything from classic punk to new. I've got my little DJ set up here. This last weekend, this whole week, I've been blasting house and techno music all throughout. And then like sometimes we'll just sit and listen to classic country. I mean, I'm trying to get the world perspective and stuff too, and it's just it's something I'm diving into, and it's something I really enjoy, and I'm bringing my family along with me, and I think that's the key to everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Yeah, my music taste, over the course of getting married and then becoming a parent, has kind of branched out too. Like I'd never heard of somebody like Josh Groban until I got married, and then all of a sudden, 3 years into my marriage, I find myself at a Josh Groban concert, 2 rows back, and I'm like, yeah, Josh, get it. It's a very strange place to be for me.
Yeah.
I grew up with like progressive rock, and like, Dream Theater and like Symphony X.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I love Dream Theater, so I still listen to it now. But yeah, so it's changed. And then if I have obviously the kids in the car, we're driving around, we're rocking out to like Elsa and Anna, like Let It Go, and then that's pretty much what we're listening to. So.
It should be.
Yeah, for sure. So, for those of you guys that don't know, so Tony and I met back at the Sacramento branch for Universe Corporation, which is the company that we both work for. And at the time, I think when I first met you, you were a district service supervisor, and then you
probably, yeah.
Yeah, and then you moved into being like kind of like my main guy, my main RSR, which that's ultimately the reason I want to talk to you, because even though I do have like sales reps and sales managers that jump on the podcast and we talk about the sales strategy, one of the key things that I think a lot of people miss is how do you partner with your route service representative? How do you work well with that person? And I feel like Universe has been one of those companies, because I've talked to people from I won't mention my competitors' names, but I've heard of people coming from our competition that have said, wow, like you guys actually work with your service guys. You actually go and take a power drill and drill stuff into the walls. I mean, everybody else just kind of signs stuff and then poof, they're gone. They just vanish. It's up to the RSR to do it.
If you're lucky, I can honestly say at 371 right now, we have a good group of, we have a good group. Like everybody's good, and I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm not saying it. I've been at it for almost 10 years now. It'll be 10 years in July. And with a few exceptions like yourself and a few of the other, kind of single digits that have come in and really wanted to make a change, really wanted to make a difference, bridge gaps, man, whatever, however you want to phrase it. Right now, everybody's pretty on board with that. And it makes all the difference. You know what I mean? It makes all the difference when, just like, which I really appreciate, I was your guy, you were my guy. When you needed something, I jumped to it. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. It didn't even have to be for my route or my issue or whatever. That's what I did. And right now we have a group of people, both RSRs, sales staff, our manager, branch manager, everyone's willing to jump into the fire and just get it done. And that's, I try to explain to some of the guys that have only been there for a couple of years now, like, bro, you don't know how tough things were there for a while. It's like, you don't really realize how good we've got it, because everyone complains, everyone, my job, this and that. But when we start bringing up some of the stories, their eyes get pretty big, and it's like, yeah, like all that went down. Like, be glad you're, where you're at right now. Everything's running real smooth, and we have help. Everyone's working together. And it's a good feeling. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's something I want to talk to you about on the podcast for a while and just kind of make it public, because like kind of what I'm hoping to accomplish with this one is just to kind of give you my perspective as a sales rep, having someone like you in the trenches that's willing to go the extra mile to help out me. But I also want to kind of get your feedback and just kind of explain to people why that's such a big deal, because I feel like people hear it over and over and over again. You know, sales, you have to work with your service guys. Service guys, you have to work with the sales guys. But no one's ever really dug in deep and kind of explained what the benefits are. So from my perspective, the biggest thing is this. Like, I remember one time, I still tell the story to this day, right? Is there's an account up in, I believe it's Cameron Park. I won't mention the name because I don't want our competition going by and saying, hey, I heard about you on the podcast or whatever, right? But
which one is it? Which one is it? I can tell you right now.
Exactly. But the reason this one was so vitally important to the story is because it's only a shop of two guys in uniform, right? And I remember going by there, the first thing that the owner said to me is, he goes, I have this company now, we're facing this issue, and this issue. What is it that's going to make you any better? And I was like, you know what, don't take my word as gospel, because I'm just the sales guy. Like, I know you've probably been promised the world by a whole bunch of salespeople. I remember making a phone call to you, asking you where you were. You said you were in the area, and I asked you, would you stop by just to say hi and just like answer a question this guy has? And you were like, yeah, sure. And then you came through, you did it. We ended up signing up the account that same week. And I think they're still our customer, as I recall. But that's for an account that's literally, it's two people. I mean, how many other people would do that for just something that's so small, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's been my personal perspective. And then being able to share like your tenure with the company, with customers, and being able to talk about you and like personally like introduce you, have a picture of you in my brag book and show people that's super powerful, because people want to know who they're dealing with, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to touch on what you said, it's like all of the customers have dealt with the sales people before in some form or another, you know, and it's very important that they get to know, especially if, you know, you as a salesman or me as a manager, I'm coming out saying, hey, your RSR is fantastic, you know, he's great, and they're like, well, who is this guy? And it's like, oh man, he's been here for 8 years, he knows what he's doing. A lot of people want to meet the person they're going to be dealing with on a routine basis. I feel that's very important. Can it get done all the time? No. Can it get done as much as I would like it to? No. But we try. I mean, we try real hard to make that happen. So it's, you know me, man. I was doing whatever I could for you, brother. You know that. you know that, man. Whatever it took, I was doing it. So
yeah, definitely. And I hope that you feel the same way about me, because like, I mean, I remember going off, you know, like after hours and like helping out with like installs. Or the one that pops up in my mind is we had a gym that was also up in Cameron Park, and you and I did the install at like 5 a.m. or something crazy like that. Yeah. I mean, we came in with drills and drilled everything on the wall. I mean, it was just stuff like that is crazy, right? But like, I feel like that's the most important thing, is not necessarily the result of what that translated into over time, but really just the fact that you were willing to go the extra mile. To me, as a salesman, that made me go, oh, this guy's awesome, I can count on him. But what that also does to me too is it gives me the ability to speak more passionately about you, or about the RSR that's in charge, and also about the service manager ultimately, because that's your role now, right?
Yeah.
So like, and that kind of stuff will translate over, because I feel like when you sell, if you sell with passion, you sell with emotion, that's truly what gets the deal. It's not about, look at this shiny flyer thing that I printed off and had laminated for you. Look at this cost savings I'm going to give you, right?
Yeah.
No, this is Tony. Like, this is a picture of him. This is how long he's been doing this. This is the last Goodwill check that our company did that he was part of. I mean, that's all that stuff is super valuable.
Yeah, when it's organized and it's a united front, to start business, to start that relationship, that is extremely important. And honestly, I didn't really get it, because, you know, when I was an RSR, I was out just doing my job. I was killing it. I was out doing my job. Right on. now that I have kind of a more of a global perspective, those are the things that I wish I could just snap my fingers and have happen every single time. I cannot. I mean, and I got guys who've been there for a year. With radio, who's been there almost 16 years now. I got these
Shout
guys.
out to Radio, by the way. What's up, Radio?
Oh yeah, he's awesome. Just I'm trying to get them to understand the importance of that first impression. Obviously nothing against you, but let's say a salesman sells an account. Customer doesn't really like the salesman. We've all had salesmen like that, okay?
Yep.
RSR comes in, like riding on his white horse, waving roses, right? Next thing you know, customer loves you. Customer for life. Everyone comes in, everyone's like, great, how you doing, all this stuff. Customer loves the experience, customer for life. It's when we go through some of the challenges we've gone through, in which every depot, every plant, branch, whatever, they all go through it when you lose people, gain people. Some of those processes get flat out skipped sometimes. And, there's been a few times recently where it's like, hey, we got to just pull up our boots and go out and tackle it and hope for the best. And thank God, over the last year or so, a lot of the shotgun style installs and, Goodwills and all this stuff we're trying to do because we're growing so fast, thank God it's worked out. But in a perfect world, like I said, if I could just snap my fingers, man, I would have an install team. I would have the time set aside to go out with salespeople to meet, instead of maybe only meeting one or two a month when you guys are out there trying to make a good first impression. I'd like to try to do one or two a week. But as we all know in the business, it does not always work out that way. So it's a goal. You know what I mean? It's a goal, and it's something that even when my OA or my CSR or the branch manager or my other manager or whoever, when I hear them getting down, when I hear them getting upset or just generally just not digging it, you know what I mean? They're just like, oh man, things are so rough lately, things are so tough. I try to stay as positive as possible. I mean, I'm like you, man. I'm very emotionally invested. And when things don't go my way, I get upset. I do. I'm not going to lie. I don't get angry. We don't want angry Tony. Be like happy Tony, and about, Dave has already told me a few times. He's like, man, you need to calm down, big guy. I'm like, yeah, I do. I need to chill out because, I'm passionate. Caring is not the wrong thing. It's just how you direct your energy and, get everyone on board.
Yeah. So that's something I want to get into with you too, because I'm curious, because I know what it's like to go from sales rep to sales manager, and then ultimately, ultimately realize that was way more than I could chew, that I bit off. And just going, make me a rep again, because I don't want to be the sales rep. But even now, with 6 years under my belt within the industry, I'm still hesitant about moving forward with a sales manager spot, saying, okay, I'm going to manage a team of people that have 6 different sets of personalities, 6 different problems, 6 different challenges. I'm like I can't even imagine, because you have 15 or 16 routes through Sacramento?
No, we have 8.
8, okay, right. But having 8 routes, that's 8 different RSRs that you now have to do with 8 different schedules. If one of them goes on vacation, you might have to jump on the truck and go out there and do your thing, right? What has that transition been like as far as moving from RSR to service manager? Is it easy, or are you getting the hang of it, or how do you feel about it?
It was easy for me because when I was a DSS and when I was just a supervisor, right? And you remember those days, okay? We had some characters in the building, but personally, personally, this isn't all about the me show. I'm not just like, well, look what I did. But at the same time, I tried to take the supervisor position to the next level, right? I was out doing, at the time, it was DSM stuff. I was out trying to do bigger things than what my position told me I should do. So that's one of the things at my DSM at the time, one of the only things I can actually say, hey man, you taught me a little bit, And then when I went back to an RSR for 3 years, I believe, you know, I just told myself, I'm going to learn. I basically, you know, mastered that position. It's really not that tough. But then when I got the RSM position, you know, in my mind, I was already kind of prepared for it. You know, what took me by surprise, well, it's not really by surprise because I already kind of knew enough about it, but how deep it all gets, right? It's like the picture you see where the iceberg is above the water and then you see what's really below the water, okay? That's from an RSR perspective. Oh, look at you, man. You guys just sit in your office all day and answer emails and phone calls and run reports. You know, no, man. You guys don't even know what's underneath the water. And I try to be as transparent with that with my RSR team as I possibly can, because I want them to get an understanding that, you know, just because I'm telling you to sell gloves today, or, you know, it's funny you mentioned the laminate because they sent out the glove pricing. I laminated that sucker. I suck it in everyone's round, pack them all. I do that, you know. But
smart.
Yeah, well, I do it. You know, if they don't have support, if they don't have someone behind them, in a positive manner, saying, "Hey, I support you. Go out and get this," you know, they're gonna fail every single time. And that's why, like I said, I'm trying to understand the reports. I'm letting guys see. You know, emails from top brass, and because they'll ask us, they'll be like, "Hey, why is this going on?" And if I can slide a piece of paper across the desk and say, "This came from all the way up top, man. You know, you're doing really, really good. Like, look where this came from. You know, they notice you." I started focusing on that within the first 2 to 3 months, and my team's world perspective, I guess, totally turned around. You know, and I'm trying to focus on that the best I can, but it's challenging. It's really challenging because at the end of the day, the guys are in 100-degree heat, lumping laundry all day, and like I said, all we're doing is growing, and all they see is that wave that's just about to come down on them, and it's hard. It's hard to keep them motivated, you know. But we're killing it, man. We're doing good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there are certain days, like I look back at Sacramento and I go, man, it'd be nice to be able to work with like Tony again, or Radio again, or like Marsha or Jamie. So shout out to both you, Marsha and Jamie. I love you guys.
They're awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I think a big part of that too is that culture that you've built, because sharing the messages from like the top brass or the top like executives of the company, and saying, "Hey, dude, like these people are looking at you." To me, that's extremely motivating, right? Because I remember when one of the coolest things that ever happened to me was my regional sales manager at the time, I think it was Pedro. He actually sent me a plaque that said like "Above and Beyond," and that's all it said on it, was just "Above and Beyond." I found out it was from him. That meant the world to me because it wasn't a local thing. I mean, like if my sales manager gave me a reward, awesome. It gave me a trophy, awesome. I love that because I love trophies. Anybody knows me knows I love trophies, right? But for somebody above him to come and actually do that, like out of nowhere, that means a lot. So that's huge. If that's changed up the morale, like it's made your people want to work harder, I mean, that's excellent. And ultimately, the customers are going to benefit from seeing that, right? Because they have people that work harder. They come in, they want to make an even bigger name. They want to get a recommendation from their customer. They want to get that customer satisfaction. That's why that's super, super important to us, because it just helps everybody.
Yeah,
so
it's a little things, you know, and one of the things that goes a long way are please, thank you, good job. I mean, that's where I started. You know, I got one RSR that I was told that I would never get anything out of. Slow. Just, you know, I heard all the stories from people who knew him from a previous company. And he got on my team, and I pulled him in, and within the first month, he was signing agreements, selling power out, selling catalog, and he was making an effort. And every time he did, man, I would celebrate it like a touchdown. And now it's routine. You know, I got samples ordered for people, and another guy who came from one of our competitors. and he now routinely tells his, his customers, hey, my management staff has my back, whatever you need, this and that. That's the culture that I'm trying to cement. I mean, if you have a weak base, and we all know this, if your base is weak, it crumbles. I mean, it just crumbles. And so it's one of the things in the first year I've really tried to focus on. Really tried. I've almost lost a couple guys. Came close because it's getting kind of crazy around there. But everybody's holding on, man. I mean, I think for my team anyway, I think they're all seeing the big picture, and I mean, we're just gonna keep pushing through.
That's awesome. I think there's a lot of people that probably listen to podcasts and they say, well, I mean, how tough could it be? It's dirty laundry. Well, there's so many different moving pieces within that, right? Because I mean, as a sales rep, you have to not only sell them on the product and the value, but then you have to go back and size everybody correctly, right? Make sure that you have all the clothing to be able to size them, or size them at least as close as you can. And then from there you have to place the order. It has to get keyed. It takes between 5 to 6 weeks, roughly, sometimes longer, to get everything in because it's all brand new stuff. And then after that point, the RSRs have to go in and then service it. So, and day in and day out, not short the customer, not lose track of what they dropped off, or forget to put something on their load sheet, or forget to fill out a ticket or whatever, right? There's so much attention to detail. And so like anyone that's an RSR or that has been RSR, to me, my hat's off, because like everybody in the company can say that, like, well, the hardest job in the company is sales. I don't think that that's the case. I think they're very different. But as far as the emotional, as far as the actual, like the physical side of it, I think RSRs have a way tougher job. And for people listening, I also feel like the President's Club requirements for RSRs should be changed, but that's a different conversation for a different time.
Just a little bit. I mean, we over the last couple of years, we've had a couple of guys who are actively planning. Okay, and we've never had that before. But I mean, you can't go from chaos to a diamond overnight, right? I mean, it takes years to steer the ship in the right direction. Sometimes we're to the point now to where we have a couple guys who can plan. Like, you can plan to go to President's Club, and then when we lose a national account where we get on the phone call and they say, hey, region this or region that, you guys are fantastic, we've had no issues with your service. They even shout out some of our RSRs by name, or they give a branch a shout out. Hey, cool, but you're all losing an account anyway. So all that hard work, all those sales, all those agreements signed, everything that certain people have done to get the ducks in a row has been torpedoed by a $19 account. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, we've had many a discussion about this, but at the same time, if it's not going to change, it's not going to change. How do we adapt? How do we overcome? Yeah. And that's we just got to keep pushing forward. That's all you can do. But I mean, I agree. There are some things that should be looked at. Maybe back in the day when things are different. Like I said, I know it's been going on for a while. I've only been here for 10 years. Process. Well, I'm just saying. Everyone tells. Back when I was an RSM, things were the GSM. Things were a lot different. Whatever. And it's just. I know things were different in the past, but they're not that way now. Right. So should the rules change to a certain degree, or should they be skewed in some way? Obviously not towards the RSR's benefit, but just to make the playing field a little more even. I believe so. I think it's only fair.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not going to get into the actual requirements of what the RSRs have to go. If you're curious and you happen to be an employee of Universe, you can look it up on the internet and actually see that stuff. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I just kind of wish that there was more. And it kind of feels like the company is kind of going that way, that they're kind of gearing more towards the RSR. And one of the things I've seen, I was very impressed by, was the new uniform, right? Because I mean, no longer is the pistol.
They look so good.
Oh, dude, so
they look so good.
Yeah, so dude, like this is how valuable the corporate office feels about the service uniforms, okay? Because my my guy Matt came in with his new uniform. He's got the new like trucker hat, universe hat, and I was like,
Yep.
dude, those are dope. I sent
Yeah.
a text message immediately to my sales manager saying, dude, can I please have one of those trucker hats? He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Corporate said, they're like, sales doesn't get them. I was like, dude. So I told my sales manager, like, fine, I'll quit and go be an RSR. That's what I'm gonna do because
There you go. I want that
that's
hat.
better than me. Yeah, I mean the actual uniform's super dope. So like I was just super excited to see that. It definitely looks like making a change. So yeah.
The level of self-worth and pride. I mean, you could see it. You could just see the energy, you know, and it was very, very apparent that when we had 3, 4, 5 guys start bringing in the uniforms, damn dogs, the energy level and everything else, guys were like, they had like kind of just a new vision for what they were doing. You know, the green and white candy striper uniforms, cool, whatever, 1950, right on, I dig it. Hey, but these are, you know, these are next level, man. And the guys are so stoked to see the uniforms. Are so stoked to see the new trucks coming out, and it's a serious flex on everyone else that's just going through COVID, and they're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And we're like, yo, we're gonna rebrand ourselves. How do you like that? And we were talking about that for days. I was all, no way, that's brutal, but I love it. You know what I mean? I love it.
Yeah.
So everyone's so stoked on them, dude. Everyone, you know, they were hesitant at first, but once they put them on, I realized how good they were. It was a good decision. It was a very good decision. Everyone needed that boost.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and that's one of the things I've actually utilized that branding or that new branding to help me with certain accounts. So like I come into and like, I mean, they're like, yeah, we have these uniforms, we have these. What can you do for this? And it's been so powerful to go back to those customers and say, well, hold on a second. Let's talk about why you have a uniform program. What's the point, right? And they tell me, okay, well, ideally, if money wasn't an issue, how do you want your guys to look? And then it becomes a very different conversation, right? Because now, like I'm telling them, well, look, like I can show you what like our company uniforms used to be and what they are now. Like I'll pull up that picture on like LinkedIn and go, check it out. And they'll go, oh, those are awesome. Right now, yeah, and it makes them work a lot harder too, because now they have this sense of pride. They feel better about how they look. That's the whole purpose of the uniform program, improve that customer what's the word for it? The motivation or I can't think of the word. Anyways, moving on. So but you see where I'm going though with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so
I'm with you.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, gets so valuable to keep those things in mind and to be able to work so closely with the RSRs and with the sales team. And unfortunately there's so many people out there that just don't promote that. I can't tell you as a salesperson how great it is to come in and see one of my RSRs who's like about to cash out. He looks at me and he goes, hey dude, hold on one second. I'm like, okay, cool. He gets done. And all of a sudden, he's giving me lead after lead after lead after lead. And I'm just like, oh, this is perfect. Because then I go back and I go target those leads. It's a warm call now, which is the best thing in the world to a salesperson. You get them signed up, and now you start working as a team, right?
Yeah.
Like, and at that point, too, like if the RSR needs something, like if for example, like I know, like out here, we had a guy who he went home. I was still at the office late because I'm usually there late on paperwork or like entering notes or whatever. It's about maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock. And he's like, dude, I'm so sorry. I forgot to drop off this. I'm like, hey man, not a problem. I'm at the depot right now. That company's around the corner. Let me just pack it in my car real fast and I'll drop it off. So yeah, it just makes things easier. Totally.
Well, when everyone does, like I said when we started, when you don't have that, you definitely notice it after you do have it, and then you're like, oh man, this is the way it should be. All four tires on the vehicle are on the ground. Your branch manager, your sales team, your RSRs, and your front of house. If everyone's on the ground rolling in the same direction, you notice change and you see results almost overnight. And it's I didn't really realize it until started getting real comfortable with my position, and started diving in more and more to reports and numbers this year versus last year, and just how hard we tackled it this year. The difference from last year is just staggering. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it makes a huge difference, but you got to have the right people in place.
Yeah, that's true. So then let me ask you this question, because now that you've been a service manager for the better part of a year now, like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I mean, is that the position you want to keep, or do you want to move up to branch manager or GM eventually, or?
Eventually get to branch manager. I'll go as high as I can. I don't ever stop trying to be promoted or stop. I always like to go forward. That's just the way I've always been. But one thing I've kind of come to realize is that there's a little bit more to it than what others have thought. That's we've already discussed that. So I would like to learn everything I can first about what I'm doing, how to fine tune, how to fine tune everything before we move to the next level, because we've all had it where you get someone who comes in, you may know more, they may know less. One, the level of knowledge and training and respect and all that is just not there. And then two, the person you're trying to follow, you're just like, I can't, man. I can't. I don't want to be that guy. If in 5 years my goal with family and everything is to get up to Oregon, that's where we want to go. You know what I mean? We're tree and ocean people. That's where we want to be. If I can be up there within 5 years, still doing the same job, maybe being promoted to a branch manager at some point, right on. Do I want to get in that position in 2 years just to have people look at me and be like, why did we bring this guy up here? You get promoted, you get moved around to make change for the better, change to move things forward. Why would you try to go someplace to be stagnant or go backwards? I'm not trying to move to another state, uproot my family and all that kind of stuff to get fired. I mean, or to let people down. To me, that just doesn't make sense. When I was 20, whatever, I'll quit my job to go on tour. That I don't care about that. I've done that. I have, yes. It was a restaurant experience, but I didn't want to do it anymore. I had a chance to go to Florida, man. I don't hold it over my head. But I don't. It's just different now. I wanna be the change, the best change I can possibly be. I've seen what it can do. I've seen where all the goodness goes, and we're starting to see transformation, like I said, just within the last year in my position now. So I get another 2 years under my belt, another 3 years or whatever like that, and for me, I'm fully charged up, ready to go out and fix another depot or assist people over here. Maybe a position will be created where there's someone over all the RSM over all of the RSMs in a division. You know what I mean? It's something like that. I mean, there's plenty of things that can be done to make everything work better. It's just having the time to do it, or positions opening up or whatever. So until that happens, brother, I'm just gonna sit. I'm gonna succeed, and I'm just gonna try to keep all my people coming with me. And that's all. That's my only mission.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point too, because I feel like, especially with I think people in my generation, which would technically be classified as like a millennial. Don't let the gray hair fool you, people. Okay, like I'm not as old as I look. All right, this is all from sales and having kids. So if you want gray hair, go into sales and get told no.
Yes.
If
you want no hair, go into service.
Go into service. That's right. I mean, like I literally spend every single day being told no over and over and over again by people at work. And then I go, not people that work with me, but people that like I'm trying to sign up because it's just no after no after no after no. And finally, you get that yes, and you're like, yes, I'm great at this. And then you go home and your kids are just no, 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 no. And you're like,
Yeah.
why don't you just listen? But where's I going with that? Oh yeah. So we're talking about my generation. I think has this thing, this crazy thing that's happening now, where especially in the sales world, people are getting poached more than ever right now because there's so much social media, there's so much transparency, there's so much access to these people. Like for example, like my LinkedIn page is blown up ever since I moved out to Pocatello, because I actually found out people were actually looking at my stuff. So of course I was like, maybe I'll start a podcast and talk to people, or maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll write like articles on like LinkedIn and stuff, and I'll publish them or whatnot, right? But like on like a weekly basis, I'm getting 1 to 2 people that are recruiters. They're hitting me up in my private message going, hey, we've got a great opportunity. We think you'd be amazing for it. I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know I'd be amazing? You know nothing about me except for what I've put out there, right? Yep. But it's interesting because I see people that spend like a year and a half here. They leave, they go to a different company. They're there for 6 months. They leave there. They go to a different company. They're there for like a year. They leave there, right? Like most of the time, it's just because they're looking for a better salary or a better package or better benefits, which I get that. But there's a lost art and there's a lost strategy to life that is simply becoming a master of what you do. And eventually, because you're the master, your life becomes so much easier because you already know how to do this, right? So like in my case, like as far as the next 5 years, like obviously I want to go to President's Club first, because let's face it, if you have that ring on your finger, like that's the ultimate trophy in my opinion, right? But from there, maybe looking at something like major accounts division, or maybe even later on national accounts, because then I get paid more for selling essentially the same stuff I've been selling for the past like 6 to 10 years. Right. So,
right. Just on a greater scale. I mean,
Yeah. So, but it is weird. Like, I think the average turnover rate, or the average tenure that we have, just based on what I'm seeing on like LinkedIn, when people like they move into a new company, because like, if you're connected with somebody on LinkedIn, it can show you like, oh, congratulate this person for starting like a new position. I usually go and I go, oh, okay, they were with us for maybe a year and a half, and I click over and it's a year and 7 months, and I'm like, oh, see, I knew it. Like, that's not really enough time to really establish yourself in your territory, because I mean, we work in a contractual based industry. I mean, you're telling me in a year and a half you decided to leave because you weren't making it? Like, what's going on? Did you try?
Knowing what we know, a year and a half is barely enough time. Those already established guys that come in, who's got 30 years of experience in another city or another company, and everybody. There's the exceptions to the rule, but I mean, I still don't know all of my customers. I see them when I have to run route, or I pop in, or I got to drop off a sample, or whatever, blah blah blah. I don't know half the people as much as I would love to. You know what I mean? When I was a DSS, when I was covering routes, when I was doing vacations, sick calls, people get fired, quit, whatever, I knew everybody on every route. That was an accomplishment. I could run 3 route down to Fairfield. Everyone knew my name. I could go up to Grass Valley. Everybody knew my name. Roseville, everybody. And that, to me, was a step in the right direction. Obviously now things are, a little different, and my job requires more attention in more places. I don't just got to hop on a truck and go handle business. But I do miss that. And that to me is one of the key elements of what I'm trying to say. It's just one of the things that I don't want to say makes the job worth it, but I just think it's one of the most important parts of what we do. And a year and a half, Rob, I used to joke around all the time when we would get new salespeople in the office. I'd say shake hands and, hey, how you doing? Bill, whatever. That's great. And then people would ask me, hey, what was that guy's name? And I'd be like, I don't know, man. I'm not even going to learn it until he's been here over a year. And then honestly, Honestly, I might see him or her, whatever, and be like, hey, hey man, But it wasn't until there was a little bit of an established, relationship there,
Yeah.
because we see it a lot. We see it a lot. Thank God our RSRs are sticking by us. But sales staff seem to flip. They go to something else. But what is always funny, and it happens to, I'm just going to throw out a magic number of 90%. 6 months. What do? You get a phone call. You get an email. Someone visits the office. Hey man, I used to work here. You know what I mean? And we were going to tackle the world together. And it's like, go away. You had your shot and you blew it, and now you're not happy. You're not happy where you went. Told you weren't going to be happy where you were going, and
right.
I've seen that more in this industry than I have in pretty much everything else I've worked at. It's actually quite mind blowing. I didn't know. Maybe I just didn't know, but I didn't. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
People ask me when we have other RSRs come from other companies. They'll say, "Man, you would kill it at this company, or you would be real great at this company." Then once they learn how we run things in our culture and how we are with everybody, they're like, "Nah, don't go over there. Those people are only out for bonuses. Those people are only out for corporate. They're only out for this." I'm not down with that, man. I'd rather have a bunch of people around me who, when it really gets tough, everyone circles the wagons and we all tackle it together, as opposed to people who just jump ship for a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's funny you mentioned that too, because one thing I always tell my customers, I actually utilize this as a selling point too, is I tell them, if you look at my LinkedIn page, you'll see I was with UniFirst for my first stint for like a year and a half, right? Which makes sense because that's like the average time that it happens, right? The first company that came along,
know your name.
yeah, right. But the first company that came along that was like, hey, we're going to offer you this much more in salary, this much more in bonus, I was like, I jumped at the chance because I was inexperienced. I didn't know like whether the grass was greener or not. It was just like, oh, okay, this is new. So I jump over and realized that, holy crap, like the training I got here was above and beyond what the other company was. And then the same thing with the other company after that. And then it wasn't until Tony Baker, shout out to Tony Baker, by the way, when he became the branch manager, he called me. He's like, hey man, how's it going over there? I was like, sucks. And he goes, you want to come back? I went, yes. And he goes, when can you start? I was like, Monday. So I just like I walked in, gave him my notice. Was it really like that? Oh yeah, dude. Like that. That was literally the conversation like I had with him. I was like, dude, like I'm ready to go. Like Grant, I went to my then sales manager. I gave him my 2 weeks notice. He's like, I'm not gonna make you work 2 weeks. And I called him back and went, cool, Monday, let's do it. And I haven't looked back since. I mean, like I've had some crazy offers from other companies and like people talking about stuff. And I feel like that's one of the things I think that people need to realize about when they leave a company is they have to think about, okay, what's the culture going to be like? Is it really going to be like this? Or is this just what the recruiter's telling me? Not that there's anything wrong with recruiters, because I mean, they have their job obviously, and they have to recruit the best people for their companies, which is great. But recruiters, just like anybody else, they're there to get you to come over to the company. You really got to dig deep and actually ask questions. So, but yeah, so
it's best to find out. And that's one of the things I'm actually glad that we have. I don't want to know anything else but UniFirst. I'm telling you right now. The stories that I've heard, where like we discussed earlier about the, corporate and the pay and the restructuring and all this other, there's benefits to every job you go to, and they're gonna give you something. Sure, but dude, it's all the same. It's all the same. I would rather focus on making the best of what I have, growing myself, my team, my branch into the best it could possibly be, rather than worrying about what is on the other side of the fence. I've learned a long time ago, unless you're in some sort of specialty field where if you have another H or whatever LS after your name as a title, unless you can do that, it's all the same. I mean, it's
then you stick. You stick it out, and good things will come. You have to have that positivity, that right frame of mind. And again, it's not easy. It's not easy. This is, I've done a lot of other things in my life, and this is the one industry that, you can see when bad things are coming, trouble's coming, but every now and then you think you're standing on the mountaintop, and you're like, yeah, and all of a sudden, boom, you get caught. It's like, wow, that was short-lived. That was the best 3 minutes of my life. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, it's like, wow, back to the grind, and then you go through 3 weeks, 3 months of it, you get back up, you look back on your accomplishments, and man, there's always something else to do. So I don't really see as things being better anywhere else you go. But this is just my station in life. I'm happy, I'm content with what I have. And I'm going to make the best of it, If I was maybe a little younger, if I didn't really have the wife, the kid, the dogs, the 2 cars, and all that kind of stuff, and someone said, hey, T, you come over here, we're going to give you this and bonus and this and that, I might be like, man, it doesn't matter to me, but I finally, and I haven't really mastered life, but let me just say, after everything I've been through, we're finally in a position to where everything is in place, right? The dogs, the kid, the cars, the music, everything is in place. And for once in a long time, we have peace. And that's part of, working where I work and doing what I do. If I was a slacker and I didn't put so much effort into what I was doing, none of those other pieces would even, possibly exist. And I don't take that for granted, ever. So I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for the grass is greener on the other side. 5 years, if I can move up north and be an asset to someone else up there, if I can motivate people and keep people moving forward, and like I said, maybe change things for the better, fantastic. But for right now, you'd be hard pressed to flash anything shiny in front of my face that would make me jump ship, especially after 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm sure that people listening to this podcast will appreciate that too, and hopefully they'll take something from that, because like, to have that kind of experience, to have the knowledge and the expertise that you have, and then to also build a team around that knowledge and expertise, that makes people want to stay, and it makes people want to work harder, which is something that I value. Like, I mean, I see reps that come in all the time that are just like, yeah, I'm going to go to President's Club my first year. I'm like, good luck, bro. Like, I hope you make it, right? And then they get to like their first 6 months, and then they're just like, oh my gosh, this is way harder I thought it was going to be, and I've been talking to this medical sales gig, and they offered me this, so I'm just going to bounce. Yeah, dude, it's tough. But anyways, on that note, we actually got to wrap this up because my wife's trying to get to the room. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do a podcast out of my closet, not an actual conference room.
Oh, that's a sham.
I know, and look, watch,
this is my real kitchen behind me, man.
Watch this, look, I'm invisible.
Holy magic.
Magic.
The man behind the curtain.
For sure. But Tony, I want to say thank you again, man, for jumping on the show. I really appreciate it. It's been a long time coming. I'm super happy to have you on. Let me know if you want to jump back on the show too. I love a return guest. For people that want to connect with you, do you have a LinkedIn page or no?
No, sorry, I'm still in the dark ages, man.
That's okay.
I'm telling you right now, the reason why my Gmail account is named Chrome Dome Drums at gmail.com is because I don't care about any of that, right? So this is what happens when one of your bandmates makes you a Gmail page and also a Facebook page.
Nice.
I mean, I'll get to it eventually. I know you told me that you'd help me out with it, which I greatly appreciate. Just priorities, brother. Priorities. You know what I mean? I'm sure one day I'm going to need it. I'm going to kick myself for not having one. But we'll get there.
Yeah, not a problem, dude. And for people that are listening to this podcast, that you found me on YouTube, you found me on Facebook. If you don't have a LinkedIn page, I highly recommend you guys to get one, especially if you're in the sales industry. That way you can connect with other people within your same industry. You can talk to people. If you want to reach out to me, or if you have interest in being on the podcast, shoot me a private message on LinkedIn, and then we'll see if we can get you on the show. But guys, thank you so much for listening to Stop Interviewing and Start Sign. I'm your host, Philip Meyer. This has been Tony Show.
All right,
Tony,
yes, thank you.
you're the man. I miss working with you, man. I really do.
I miss you as well, my friend. I always love it when you call me or text me. It's good to see your face finally. It's been a while, so I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Not a problem, brother. We'll talk to you later on, okay?
All right, bud.